Welcome to Brainstorm. I'm Lisa Williver, and today we are discussing jobs and careers of the 21st century. But before we begin, let's take a look at what's actually happening in today's job market. From the time kids are old enough to speak, someone will inevitably ask them, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" If a kid enjoys playing in a pretend kitchen, people assume they want to become a chef. If they build with blocks, carpenter or construction worker is the obvious choice. But the job market, as it tends to do, changes. While new jobs are added, other jobs go the way of Morse code. While many of today's jobs will continue to exist, tomorrow they may look a bit different. When today's wannabe superheroes reach college, they'll come face to face with some new and somewhat confusing job titles. And even though most 4-year-olds aren't mulling over a fulfilling career as a corporate brand strategist or a logistics configuration analyst, today's kids definitely need to be prepared for anything. To brainstorm this week's question, I've invited Dawn Hiltner, a former elementary school teacher and the Associate Director of Organizing and Coalition Building for the New Jersey Education Association, and Dr. Leon Ciccarello, who brings over 20 years of experience in energy and trading utility markets in the United States and Europe, as well as large-scale enterprise software products. Dawn, Leon, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So, first question, since we're talking about careers and what kids want to do when they grow up, what did you want to be when you grew up? Dawn?
When I was about 5, I wanted to be a waitress, and I did achieve that dream. As I got
living
older,
the dream.
I was living the dream.
Excellent.
Wasn't that much of a dream, though. It's a lot of hard work.
Very
So
very
tip
hard
your
work.
servers well.
Absolutely. And how about you, Leon?
I was all over the place. I
Hard
was
to
the
believe.
Typical young boy with lots of interests, mechanics, but mostly mechanical background kind of stuff.
And I imagine maybe you were driven toward the sciences.
Yeah, at that time, science fiction was enormous. So
Okay.
yeah, there was lots of chasing robots, chasing all kinds of sci-fi and all that kind of stuff. So sure.
Now, I know with kids today, the job titles don't always explain what the job is, and especially because technology has been changing so rapidly. We went from the late 60s to the mid-70s with the 8-track dominating the market. Then we had the cassette, and little by little, everything that comes out has a shorter lifespan. And it seems like technology just changes so quickly. So, Dawn, how do you feel that schools are responding to all the technological changes?
Well, it's very difficult because the technology changes so rapidly. It's sometimes hard for schools financially to keep up with the latest thing on the market. A lot of the schools use Chromebooks. A lot of the schools try to have technology departments, but some of the other schools actually partner with other organizations. They'll partner with businesses or partner with other scientific companies so that kids have an opportunity to work on some of the latest equipment and latest technology.
That's really great to hear, because I can't imagine being in high school right now and wondering what I would want to do. Leon, how do you feel that kids are prepared as they're coming out? Being a business owner and an entrepreneur, do you feel that kids are prepared for what they will be facing right now?
No, they're not prepared.
Tell us how you really feel.
They are lacking in the basics. They are great at adopting technology. They love the toys. But if you get down into the nitty-gritties of how's the toy put together, how's the functional position of what they have in their hands, they fall off quickly.
So what I'm hearing is we're giving them the application skills, but somewhere there's a disconnect between actually applying them.
Yes.
Is that what you're finding with the younger workers that are coming your way?
Most of our onboarding for our new employees, there's a lot of rigid position in understanding the old days of reading, writing, arithmetic. They lack the creativity needed to think about a problem outside the box. We say this all the time, get outside the box. But when you say that to a young person, they don't know what that means. And they are lacking the tools to be able to build a new perspective of what out-of-the-box thinking means. And what ends up happening in our onboarding perspective is we take an employee and start to run them through their job criteria. Help them understand what they need to do on a day in, day out basis. So we're not really testing them. We're educating them in the fundamentals of almost like the apprenticeship position of how to do their job.
So I would imagine that costs employers more money in preparing the employees, where before they might have been able to adapt quickly to a new job or a new profession. Does it take more time and more money to get the employees where you need them to be?
It does. It helps us create corporate culture in regards to the way that the employees act inside our organization, so that they're part of the team, part of the gear work. But it does have a cost from the standpoint that we feel like we're basically starting over with the employees.
Today, as adults, we've kind of put our kids in these structured environments, and it's important to kind of break that mold and give them an opportunity to explore and solve their own problems and come up with their own ideas.
So as an entrepreneur, what advice would you give to parents to have kids prepared? I mean, schools are doing what they do. So what can the parents do to either supplement or expand upon what the schools are doing? Are you going to say unplug all the devices?
No, that's a very loaded question. I had a conversation at a party with a number of parents. Most of the parents are interested in their kids' education, but ill-equipped to deal with it for three reasons. Either they don't have the time because their jobs are very intense, and they physically don't have the bandwidth to be able to do homework with them because they've got their own homework to do when they finish dinner. Or they're at a lower playing field where when they were in school, they were poor students, they were thrilled to get out, and they don't want to do school again. And they surely can't help them with their homework because they don't remember enough. And nor do they want to get a refresher on their own to remember how to do it to be able to help their child. So instead of looking silly to their child, they'll skirt the whole thing, and one child left behind, all the kids left behind. That's because true. The parents aren't supporting them, and the teaching establishment is expecting the parents to pick up the slack, and they don't.
We'll be right back after the commercial break.
What to expect when you're expecting.
Like here?
A teenager.
Today, I'm going to show you how to teen-proof your home. First step, hide the car keys. Preferably somewhere they would never look. Challenges will come up. Be ready for them. Hi, honey.
Ready for the... Mom, you don't use mannequins in the mannequin challenge.
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Welcome back to Brainstorm. I'm Lisa Williver, and today we're talking about jobs and careers for the 21st century, and I'm excited to continue the conversation with Dawn Hiltner and Dr. Leon Ciccarello. So we were just talking about all of the different things that schools are doing to try to prepare kids for the 21st century. How do you feel that academics compares with athletics right now? Because I know we don't want to see them in competition, but I know for some kids there's much more emphasis on athletics. Leon, what do you think about that?
I think there's a disconnect.
Okay.
We award, everybody gets a trophy on the ball field, and in the classroom, we hold them accountable. It becomes uncomfortable. They fail. They don't want to do it anymore. They're not patted on the back as quickly as they are on the ball field. So there's a huge disconnect in the way that we're showing them how to succeed in life. And then they go to the path of least resistance. So they become athletic orientated.
How about you, Dawn?
And I think I completely agree. And I think a lot of times, though, when the athletics becomes more competitive, kids are more likely to drop out because they don't like to sit on the bench, or they don't like that their team's losing all the time. And, there's a lot of education that goes into learning how to lose gracefully, learning how to make yourself better, learning how to put effort in, even if it's not always rewarded, because that's what real life is like.
And I notice, my youngest is 11, and I notice in the elementary schools right now, the difference between the travel teams and the recreational teams. There's even a disconnect between how they play and how the parents respond on the field. It seems like the recreational leagues are more like when we were growing up. The kids are playing, they're having fun. It's not overly serious, but if you go to some of the travel teams, it's a lot of pressure on the kids, and I always wonder how that translates into other aspects of their lives. You know, do you think maybe if somebody's excelling on the in athletics that might push them for academics, or maybe have the opposite?
It's the opposite effect. In fact, most of the parents that are pushing their kids on the D1 team, that's their plan for paying for college. And unfortunately, it's a poor plan. The parents didn't plan, the kids are falling in the same trap.
Another thing I wanted to discuss with you is the trades. I'm the daughter of a tradesman. My father was a butcher for 45 years, and he worked hard, but that was a skill. I mean, that he was trained, he was an apprentice. And then it seemed like for a while there, we started trying to steer every kid to college, whether they were prepared to go to college. And in doing so, I felt like we devalued our trades, and we need them. I think that's something we'll always need. So as a business owner, how do you see the devaluing of the trades? I mean, do you even agree with that?
I do, and there's a big evolution in regards to the trades. You know, we've replaced muscle with automation, and we're moving to the point where that is the norm. So the trades that required plowing a field, going out and doing something physical, doesn't exist anymore. Now you're asking the question, do we have enough knowledge in the core position to be able to do the trades that were revolved around sort of the gray matter and the ability to think through a problem and take the trade to the next level? That's where the opportunities of the future will be. But what that looks like tomorrow, I don't think any of us know.
What do you think, Dawn?
Well, the trades have gotten a lot more technical and a lot more skilled, I believe, than, strictly, using a shovel or pushing a plow, or, it's really, you really need a wide skill set.
What, now mixing the trades with the modern technology, which trades do you think are going to be really great markets for kids that are in high school and are looking for something that they should focus on?
Small scale manufacturing seems to be the trend that is taking off right now. We're looking for design concepts and thoughts around things that are one-offs because of that customized fashion. When you get into the larger scale common use position, automation has basically crushed that. So there's no, the old cliche of a large scale factory that produces 1,000 things a day will continue, but it'll be exactly what it is, a non-manned entity, chunking out widgets. The jobs will be in the small scale jewelry and or small desktop publishing and or making of products for personal use that have a personalized touch to them.
Well, I hope kids and parents are watching right now and that they took some notes. Right now, we are going to play Brainstorm.
Okay.
In the tradition of brainstorming, we are going to look over some ideas, decide if they're good or bad. If they're great, we're going to save them. And if they're not, you get to ball them up and make a basket.
Okay.
No pressure.
Or miss the basket.
Or miss the basket. Either way, it's all good. So idea number one, the job market historically changes very slowly, and that trend continues. What do you guys think?
False.
That's false.
All right, Leon, I'll give you the honors. Now, this could be extreme. Okay.
Move the target.
All right, there we go. One more time.
There you go.
2 points. Okay. Idea two, creativity is a luxury schools can no longer afford.
That's false.
There you go. We know
That's
that
the most
one's
important piece.
false. Woo, okay. Idea three, many sustainable careers will be found in the tech sector. Ah, sustainable.
Sustainable.
I can see you're stuck on the word sustainable. What do you think?
Tech's always changing, right?
Tech is always changing, and we're all looking for sustainable jobs because that's something that was inbred in all of our thinking. I get this career, and this career will support me my whole life.
Yes or no?
That's a no.
All right, ball it up. Number four, many sustainable careers will be found in the medical sector.
I would say true, because we're always going to need
Put that one
doctors.
down.
Oh, so I keep this?
The trades are best for low-achieving students who lack discipline.
Oh, that's false.
It's an awful stereotype. Both of you go at the same time. There we go. Two more. You ready? Yeah. Didn't see that. Excellent. Young people should expect to start at the top.
False.
Innovation requires creativity and skills.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, idea number 8. Social skills are as valuable as career skills.
Absolutely, if not more.
More? Okay, I agree with that 100%. So Dawn, Leon, I want to thank you very much for being here right now. We're going to go to a break and we'll be right back.
Hi, and welcome back to Brainstorm. I'm Miriam Davenport, and today we have in our studio, all the way from New York on Skype, this is Mark Turner. He is a management of recruitment for ShopKeep in New York City. Welcome, Mark, to our show.
Thank you, Miriam. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So Mark, you are in the area of recruitment. Tell us what you're looking for when you are recruiting, and what types of candidates are you looking for?
Okay, well, right now I'm specifically targeting technology candidates in all areas of technology, from programmers, developers, quality assurance people, network engineers. As you know, the internet's very hot these days. Mobile apps is very hot. So specifically for those technical areas, I look for those skills, experience in education in computer sciences. That's one of the areas that I recruit for, and it happens to be one of the heavy areas right now. Also recruiting for marketing, sales, finance. So basically what I look for are, of course, years of experience, very important. Depending on the skill set, a degree may or may not be necessary. For instance, I have many computer positions where experience trumps education. You get the real hands-on experience, especially when you talk about mobile apps and software development, front-end development. So I do look for those years of experience. But something more than that, I look for passion in that area, in whatever area that they're looking for employment in. For instance, if a person is a computer expert, I look at what they do for their hobbies. Do they have a website that they built on their own? What do they do in their spare time? Do they have a blog? So I look for passion as well as the experience and the educational experience and the real love and passion for what they do.
So Mark, when you're looking for these candidates, are they have experience? Do you look for anyone who is graduating from college? And if so, what do you look for in that particular group that doesn't have that work experience yet?
Sure, we do. And that's a big area right now when it comes to diversity, when it comes to women in technology, minorities in technology. Those are the areas that are really difficult to really find some diversity in. So we do have internship programs, and we do hire entry-level college grads. And what I look for is, again, the passion in what they do, not that they just majored in computer science, but they did whatever hobbies that they had, they did whatever they did on the side, whether they did some websites for their church or the community organization. Of course, look for good grades, look for internships, and especially in technology areas, internships are pretty available. Most companies do look for interns to bring in those entry-level candidates because there is a shortage of technology folks. I was reading something the other day where something in the next year or two, there's going to be over 100 to $200,000 openings for cybersecurity engineers.
That's pretty powerful. So is there anything else that you wanted to add in particular to this topic regarding 21st century jobs?
Again, I think especially now when unemployment could be high in some areas. Look at those growth areas where unemployment is low, or where there's a demand, where there's a need. And one of the things I preach when I go to career days, college career days, is I preach technology. And I say to some of the high school students, hey, listen, pull out your phone. Look at all those apps on your phone. Hundreds and hundreds of apps. Look at the games that you're playing with. Do you know how much money you could make with your passion by actually creating those games or creating apps? Those apps where people create out of nowhere, think of something that no one else has thought of. So I tend to tell people these days, look for those areas, number one, of course, where you're passionate in. Look for those areas where there's a demand, especially for growth areas for females and for minorities, where there's definite opportunities to get into that industry, earn a good living, like what you're doing, and actually make an impact on society. And those are things I tell folks to go for these days. Years ago, our parents used to say, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be a teacher. And those things are good, but let's face it, I had an advertisement about 2 months ago for a legal assistant, and I can't tell you the hundreds of resumes I got from people with law degrees that were looking. So, I say go for those high demand areas.
Thank you, Mark, for brainstorming with us today. We'll take a short break and we'll talk more with someone in New York, Hugo Balta, who also has something to say on the topic of diversity in the 21st century job market.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
Welcome back to Brainstorm. I'm Miriam Davenport. Today we have a special guest who is the Senior Director of Hispanic Initiatives at ESPN, and we are going to talk with him regarding the 21st century job market. Welcome to our studio, Hugo Balta.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
It's great to have you here. Hugo, I want to talk with you. I know you have a strong voice for diversity and inclusion. How do you help companies create an awareness around that topic for the 21st century job market?
Sure, absolutely. Look, I think the first thing about diversity and inclusion is reframing the conversation from first it being a problem that needs to be solved to an opportunity that needs to be realized. A lot of times what happens with diversity and inclusion, companies start to look at numbers, look at the population of their employees, and some of them start to make decisions, knee-jerk reaction decisions based on that. And so as human beings, when we are faced with a problem, we rush to go fix it. If we reframe the conversation as diversity and inclusion is an opportunity to be realized, then as humans, when we look at an opportunity, we kind of step back. We want to take a look, a balcony view of this opportunity that we want to realize. We develop strategies around it. So the first thing that I do in regards to creating awareness for different industries about diversity and inclusion is to first, let's take a step back. Where are we right now? And then let's project where we want to be. What does that finish line look like? Because we're going to need to work backwards in order to develop a strategy, a roadmap that we faithfully need to adhere to if we're going to achieve those goals.
Wonderful. And how is that changing in New York in particular?
Look, New York is the capital of the planet, right? Nowhere like New York where you can walk down Fifth Avenue, walk down Broadway, and you're going to hear not only different languages, but different dialects of the English language. No other place like New York where you're going to be exposed to different cultures, be it food, music, history. So in New York City, it is imperative to leverage that position of power in order to, from a business perspective, grow your brand and grow your business. So in New York, it's very important to have the pulse of this ever-changing, ever-evolving community of people that coexist together in a very positive and productive way.
So speaking of the bilinguals, how do you get in touch with those people, bilinguals, for them to know that there are those job opportunities?
Well, speaking specifically about the U.S. Hispanic market, English and Spanish language, now while it's very important to be proficient in Spanish language, more than 41 million people in the United States speak Spanish. The second largest country of Spanish-speaking people, second only to Mexico. While it's very important to understand the language, you have to first and foremost have a proficiency in culture. In the United States, there are nearly 60 million U.S. Hispanics. The largest portion are U.S.-born and bilingual. All of them, though, share a common culture. And so understanding the cultural nuances of a Hispanic in the West Coast that is predominantly Mexican, Mexican American, to a Hispanic, say in New York City, that is generally Puerto Rican, Dominican, Caribbean, South and Central American, that nuance is very important as you're going to develop products, messages that are going to be relevant and organic to that particular audience. So for me, in consulting with these different companies, it's the importance of understanding it's not just about language, it's also about culture.
So in your job market in media, what in particular is the top job, would you say?
In media, it's about understanding that cultural aspect, right? Univision coins it the 200%. 100% American, 100% Latino. And so oftentimes what happens is when you talk about U.S. Hispanic, the conversation gravitates to Spanish language and gravitates to the others, categorized as foreigners, when it's everything but. So that cultural change is very important in developing messages that speak to a person like myself, that's a second generation Latino, and others, third and fourth generation, that are very much ingrained into the American experience, but also have deep roots to the country of origin of their parents. For me, it's Peru. So as you're developing content, it is very important to understand you're not speaking to someone else or the other. You're speaking to someone that is your neighbor. You're speaking to someone that sits next to you in the subway. You're speaking to someone that is in your office. It is important for us in order to develop content that is authoritative, that is authentic, to be inclusive of those people that have that dynamic. You know, overwhelmingly, if I just take a look at newsrooms across the country, overwhelmingly, there's an imbalance of representation and inclusion of U.S. Hispanics, which results then in sometimes some of these media companies sticking, tripping over themselves in producing content that's at best patronizing and at worst, at times, be categorized as prejudice. And that's because we're telling stories from a perspective of not being a member of that community, but as an outsider looking at that community. There's a powerful difference between creating story when it's me and I versus they and them. And so it's very important, especially in a market like New York City, that newsrooms be reflective and inclusive of the community that they're serving, and in this particular case, of U.S. Hispanics.
Thanks for participating with us today, and thank you to the viewers for watching. We'll see you again next time on Brainstorm.